Hello there, it's Jan here, and I'm back today with another technique for my series of tutorials on Technique Tuesday. So I've got quite a simple little style today, but what I wanted to show you, the technique I'm going to show you today is faux embossing, so dry embossing that we would normally use an embossing folder for. And the panel on the front of here I have actually done as a faux embossed panel. So we have a member of the family that's had some surgery this week, and I needed a get well soon card, so I've just popped this one together. We've gone with tones of sort of a grey blue and gold. I've got some gold glitter card behind here, and just a really simple sending you a hug. And I'm going to show you how I've popped this one together, focusing on that technique. So we'll pop that one over to one side. Now, traditionally, to get an embossed finish, a raised finish, we would normally work with sort of embossing folders. So whether they are what we refer to as a 2D, a more flat folder, or the big 3D folders that give a more pronounced impression. I've got loads and loads and loads of these in my stash, but I do enjoy doing this technique. It's great for using up scraps. If you've got lots and lots of scraps of white card, it's a great one for using up those, or any other colour for that matter. I like the white because I like to tint it with the ink. So this panel started out as white cardstock, and then I've just used some of my ink to catch the edges of it, and I'll show you how I've done that. So we're going to start out with that little panel for the front, and we'll do that bit first. And I've just got a piece of smooth white cardstock, and this one just measures 3 3/4 inches square. So whatever, you can do a big panel of this and work on it that way, and then cut it down. It's entirely up to you. I've just gone with the size that I needed for my card. And then what I've done is I've cut out lots of little embellishments. So lots of, I've gone for a flourish on this one, and this is actually from another old set of mine here, called Fairy Garden, which is from one of the Nature's Garden by Crafter's Companion range. And I've just used the flourish here, and I've cut these out. I've cut several of these out with my die cutting machine, and I've put some self-adhesive on the back, some double-sided adhesive before I've cut them, because we want to stick these onto here. And obviously the more delicate your die cut is, the more fiddly it is. So what I've done is I've cut half a dozen of these. May need them, may not. I'm going to chop into them in places. They've got very friendly while they were in my little pot there, look. So let's just get those apart. They're all the same. They've all been die cut from scrap card, and they've all got those little pieces of double-sided on the back. So the hardest part today is going to be getting that bit off. I just need to release the sheet on the back there. So once we've got that lifted, I can take that off, she says. Just lift that off the back, and then we can take that off the whole thing. And then I can use this then to position my die cut. So it is in pieces because I used scraps of the double-sided adhesive that was left, so it went on in pieces, which would suggest why it's come off in pieces. So I'm going to start right in the center of the panel. So I'm just going to literally pop one down pretty much in the center there, and once I'm happy with that one, we can give that a good press into place. And this is a good way, having the double-sided adhesive on the back is a great way of ensuring that the whole piece is stuck down, because when we come to add the ink, I don't want that to end up lifting. So again, I'm just going to take off the next one, see how much of it comes off in one go. That one was obviously a full piece. There we go. I think there was a little bit left at the bottom there, yeah. And then again, we can decide where this one's going to go. So obviously I'm going to twist and turn them. Obviously there's going to be some bits that pop over the edge, and there'll be some little pieces that we can fill in at the end. So the idea is that we're just trying to cover the whole of the piece of card in a, you know, reasonably pleasing fashion. So again, we'll do the next one, and we're just going to place all these down where I want them to go. Just take off that backing strip. bit of the adhesive there. A little bit clinging at the top there. As I say, I never thought about that when I did put the pieces on. I thought, well, I'll use up some of the little pieces, but obviously now the backing is coming off in little pieces, but at least it's sticky. This is the one thing that I often forget to do when I'm doing my die cutting. So I'm quite pleased with my little self today that I remembered. So again, we're going to pop this and twist and turn as we go. So I'm going to fill that corner, I think, just there, and deliberately sort of going off the edge of the card. I can snip those bits afterwards. Give that a good press into place. And we might not need all of these, you never know, we might only have to take the back off a few of them. But again, just lifting that backing tape off. And this one that I've used is actually a Sticks 2 piece of double-sided adhesive. So whatever you have handy in your stash there can be the bits that you use. Again, I've just got some pieces right up at the top there. And again, this is going to go off the edge, so I'm not too worried about whether it is all sticky or not. So again, we can have a look where we've got to. That's the same way as that one, so I'm going to bring that one a little bit higher up, like so. Give that a good burnish. Now then, I'm just going to snip some of these pieces off because I can reuse some of the bigger pieces. So that one is slightly bigger, and that's still got some sticky left on it, so we can actually have this one in maybe some of the gap there. There's a little gap there. And pop that one on there like so. And then I've actually got, I think what I'm going to do with that one is snip into that piece so that I'm not taking the back off all of it, and then just take the sheet off that piece, and then we can use this to fill that corner in. So again, this one's going to go sort of like so. It's looking pretty good. And then again, I could use a little bit more of this. I think it needs something in that corner there. So yep, as I say, don't be afraid to snip into them. And let's just get that one settled in the corner there. Onto that edge, and then we can go trim round the rest of it. So I'm going to put that one in there like so. And then anything that's overhanging from the edge, I am just going to go round with my scissors using the cardstock as a guideline and just trim any of those pieces off all the way around there. And then we've got our faux emboss piece to finish there. Okay, so you can check now and see whether there are any other little gaps that you may need to cover up. I'm just going to get rid of all those bits of backing paper out of the way, otherwise I shall end up with them all stuck to me. And then we've got that piece there ready. So you can see we've got all that lovely sort of texture on there that now looks as if it's been popped through an embossing folder, and you've got that raised element. Now there are a couple of little gaps, but I'm going to leave it at that for now. You get the idea of what we're doing. She says going back to the die cuts. Oh, that bit would just fit in there, look. Let's see if we can do that one. It's a tiny bit to get the backing off, but we'll give it a go there. There we are. Fabulous. And then that bit can just go in that little gap there. And then trim that last bit off. So I'm quite happy with that now. I'm going to stop there. We've got a spare one just in case I need it for something else. And then we're going to add some colour to it. So I'm just going to pop my mat down there to protect my surface. I'm going to bring in, I chose tumbled glass because that went with the paper that I'd chosen. I'd got a piece of pattern paper in the background and I just wanted something that echoed the blue there to go with the gold. So all I'm going to do is take, and I find this easier to do with a brush. So I've just got some really nice ink brushes here that I use, and I'm going to load that up with the ink. And then just come at this in one direction to start off with. So when you come from the edge of the cardstock, all it's doing is catching the edges of the embossing rather than the background, and I just think it's a really, really nice look. So for the first application, I'm going to keep the piece of cardstock in the same orientation and apply my ink, and then I'm just going to turn the card 45 degrees and come at it from this angle as well. So we'll do that turn just to make sure that I've got all those different sides of the die cuts, and also it's picking up the ink on the edge of my card as well, where I'm coming in from the edge, so it's giving the idea that it's been inked around the edge as well. And you can just see how that actually transforms now. So we'll move that out of the way, and you've got that lovely piece now, and really, really textural. You know, it's very tactile to touch, but it just looks as if it's been popped through an embossing folder. So that's going to be part of my focal point on the design. So we just need the card blank now to actually build, and I'm going to build on top of that. So I've got lots of pieces ready, and I'm starting off with a 6x6 inch shop bought card blank. So this is actually one out of one of the Craft Club boxes. I separated them all out because I wasn't using them in the boxes from Crafter's Companion. I just got them all. They look very pretty on my shelf, but I wasn't actually using them, so I've taken all the cards out, all the envelopes, etc, etc. So this is just an ordinary 6x6 card. And then I've made some mats and layers to go on top of it. So I'm going to leave the card to one side for a minute because I want to build all the layers first. So we've got 3 layers to start off with. I've got a gold layer, I've got a white layer, and then I've got my piece of pattern paper. So any paper that you've got, and just because this had this lovely design in it, that's where I chose the gold. It's an ivory non-shed glitter card. So we're going to layer these 3 together first of all. And I've actually taken the centre out of this one to make the next layer. So this element round the embossing, I've just cut the centre out. All my specialty card I tend to, you know, be very frugal with. So onto the glues. In order to stick to the glitter card, I tend to use my wet glue. I do like the wet glues for this purpose, and I'm going to go with the acrylic glue on this one so that it doesn't damage the surface of that coated card. So because I've taken the centre out of it, I just want a line around the outside edge, and that should be enough now to get this one stuck together. And it's got about 1/8 of an inch border all the way around there. Give that a good press, and then that wet glue will soak into your coated cardstock, and you'll get a nice bond between those 2 pieces. So that's my first layer. Now, because we're going paper to cardstock, out comes the all-purpose glue. And the reason I didn't use that on the glitter is because it will damage the surface. With it being a solvent glue, if any of it had squidged out of the edges, it would damage the surface, whereas my cardstock to cardstock, absolutely perfect. This will rub away if it comes onto the white cardstock. So that's going to be my main layer. You can just see there where we've got a little bit. I was trying to work out where the pink had come from, but I think that's from that foil that was on the other side. There was a little bit of like copper foiling on the other side of the paper, but I didn't want that to interfere with my choice of the gold. So that's going to be the main section. And then I've made another matte layer for this one to sit on, and this is where this came out. This is the piece that's come out of the center of here. So I've got a 4¼ inch square, which is slightly bigger. I've got a bigger border on this one, like so. Now on the first one, I will be honest about this. I've got, you can see there are gaps in this one. It's hidden under the vellum here. But initially I thought I wanted to do 4 smaller squares like tiles with the faux embossing on. So I cut my gold into the squares ready. And then when I'd done the panel, I thought, actually, I like this as it is as one panel. So rather than wasting that lovely speciality card, I've just stuck these with the little gap in, and I think it looks okay. But obviously, because that was the intention, I've actually kept this one all as one piece. So we're going to pop this one down at 4¼ inches. And again, I'm going to stay with that same wet glue just so that I can wriggle this one into place, like so. And just make sure that we've got a nice even border all the way around. And I know it's covered up most of that pattern paper. And yes, we could have taken the centre out of that, but I have got so many pattern papers that I don't actually need to keep the little offcuts. So that's that panel. And then we're going to go with our embossed panel. Okay, so again, because I'm going on to the glitter, I'm going to come back to the acrylic glue. All right, so this will soak in nicely, but it won't damage my glitter card if any of that glue should seep out. So I want quite a liberal coating on there because we've got a lot of surface area to cover there. And then I'm just going to sit this one central in that matte layer. And I like how all the matte layers are different sizes. I do like that sort of offset. And then this one eventually is going to go and leave a nice white border, a nice margin space around the edge of the card, like so. Now my original one was intended to be a book fold card, but for some reason I've rotated it at some point and ended up with the fold at the top. So again, you know, personal preference, we're going to carry on with the book fold with this one, and this one's going to go on here like so. But just before I do that, I want to add my sentiment strip, and I thought, right, I just want to push that back a little bit so that the sentiment is standing out, but I didn't want to cover it up totally. So out came the vellum. I love using my vellum strips, and I've actually stamped out a piece of vellum there with a get well sentiment and that one is from my Visible Image stamps. Again, I've had these ages. Go-to words. I just love the font on here, and the fact that it's got those little leads in and out on the stamping. So I've used my Stays On ink, solvent ink pad for stamping on that surface on the vellum, and this one's going to stretch across the middle before we stick that layer down. So that's why I've not put that layer into the card yet. So all I'm going to do is position this roughly central, like so. I wanted to leave a space at this side for an embellishment, and then I'm going to wrap that around my card like so, and then we'll stick that down at the back. I've just realised I've left my glue open and it's very warm in here. So yeah, I'm just going to use a little bit of my dotty tape runner there on the sides, just to anchor that down. So just make sure that's moved a little bit. I'll just make sure that I've got that in the right position there, and then just wrap that onto the back there and give it a good press in place. Okay, and now we can actually attach it to our card blank. So we'll keep the book fold this time, and we're going to pop this one onto the back. So I've not got to worry about any problems on the back here. I'm going to go with that all-purpose glue again, just round that frame and a little bit in the middle there. And then this one's just going to sit nicely with that lovely margin of white all the way around the edge of the card. So nice and simple, lots of mats and layers just to get that attention, and then that lovely piece of faux embossing in the middle there. And then finally, I just wanted a little embellishment to go on here. So I had a look through my stash, and I do come to these quite often. These are a range of Gemini dies by Crafter's Companion, and they were made specifically for embellishments. This one's called Fabulous Florals. You've got 3 flowers and a leaf in that one. I've used this one before, went for this one today, and I've cut that in the blue so that we can pick out the blue paper in the background and the blue ink. So I've just cut one of those out. I've cut a couple of layers so that it's a bit more substantial, and we're just going to pop this one on here like so. So again, we'll add some of that wet glue just to pop this in place. And I did pop the centre of the die cut back in, which is why it's got a little bit of tape on the back, mainly because I wanted a surface area to add some pearls. Those of you that know me know that I'm never finished on my cards without adding some kind of gems or pearls. So I'm going to add a little bit of wet glue on here as well, just so that there's a bit of extra adhesive to keep it in place. And then we're going to pop this one. I'm just going to tap off some of the excess there so that it's not too blobby. And then this one's going to go just on the edge there. I don't want to cover up the sentiment. So I've got that little bit of sticky in the middle and a bit of glue so that we've got our finished design. So really nice and easy. The mats and layers are doing most of the talking, and then just showing that piece of faux embossed card there with the blue, and you've got your card at the ready. So if I bring the one in that I'd prepared, we've added the old gems to this one, and I went for some nice blue. These are Dreamy's gems, and they've got a lovely aurora finish to them. I don't know whether the camera's picking that up, but they're absolutely gorgeous. And I've gone for 3 in the centre of the flower, which is why I wanted the middle back in, so that I'd got that flat area to stick to. And then I've just added some along the sentiment as well. And then inside this one, we've got our insert. So I've actually stamped in the centre, and then I was just going for a little ghost image, and I kept this as one of the pieces that I cut the flourish out of originally. And then all I've done is I've used this as a stencil with the same blue ink that I used on the front, the tumbled glass, and I've just gone through it to create my own little stencil, and it's just added a hint of that blue flourish there to link it to the front of the card again. So there we go, that's my design today for Technique Tuesday, showing you that faux embossed square there instead of using an embossing folder. It's a great way for using up the scraps, and we've got my get well soon card to pass on to my family member. So if you've enjoyed the video today, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel and you would like to do that, I would be very grateful, and I'll be back very, very soon with my next tutorial. So bye for now.